It's Stochastic. Here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday here, joined once again by Matt Bellman. And we're going to talk a little NBA. We've got an intriguing slate. We're at that time of the year where wildness is sort of the default position, though that did seem to start far earlier this year, Matt, than it ever did before. How's it going? It's been a week since we had a chance to chat.
Yeah, it's going well, man. I'm happy I'm on this show. Hopefully this becomes a regular thing. At first, before the season, when Greg asked me if I could do Saturday shows, I was doing shows pretty much every other day. And my wife was like, that's the one time she wants to do stuff as a family. But that's kind of dwindled down a bit. And I'm not doing shows every day anymore right now. So maybe I'll pick this one up for the next few weeks, hopefully, because I enjoy doing shows with you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It tends to be a rotating cast of characters on Saturdays around me, since most of the people don't really want to be up early on a Saturday. I usually don't stay up too late anymore, or if I am, I'm just reading in bed, so it's nothing crazy. But last night, I signed off around 9:45. I just couldn't do it. We're making the move to Florida, so everything is about packing and endless stream of contractors and repair people coming to the house. So it's kind of been a very big mental drain. I'm on my third cup of coffee, or third cold brew this morning already. I've been up since about 6. I'm ready for a nap. I will.
Are you a watch TV in bed guy, or just read in bed guy?
No, just read or look at the phone.
Sure. I'm not a watch TV guy either in bed.
Yeah,
I don't.
It needs to be quiet. I like to have a noise machine. I like to
same
dark, etc. Yeah, at the new place where we're at, we have a TV in the bedroom. I don't think we've ever turned it on in all the time we've been down in Florida, is where I'm moving to. So yeah, we don't. And even at our place here in Virginia, there's like a little sitting room area off the main bedroom, but that TV is, my wife sits there in the morning and watches it and has coffee, but otherwise we never turn it on. So not so much. Yeah, I'm not much of a TV fella. I had 2 roommates in college that insisted on having the TV on to fall asleep, and it would keep me up. And the second I'd turn it off, both of them would wake up and be like, "Hey, I'm watching that." I'm like, "You assholes were snoring and farting in your sleep already. You guys aren't watching this."
Yeah.
But that was back.
Sleep, I'm like you. I need
David Letterman days, if you will. That was how long ago that was.
I certainly remember those days. Jay Leno, Letterman.
Yeah. Carson retired when I was in college, like my junior or senior year.
I am not old enough for Carson, so you beat me.
Yeah. So Letterman was on even later because he hadn't moved up to that earlier slot like he did when he and Leno were doing battle. So in any event, we now have a bunch of people sliding on in. So let's talk about the slate 6-gamer. There's a 4:00 game, there's a 6:00 games, or 6:00, 6-game slate starting at 7:00. They are grabbing that 9 and 10 o'clock game to make it a 6-game slate. So that is helpful. Couple teams on a back-to-back, but the majority of our teams are actually on island games right now, meaning the last time they played was Wednesday or Thursday. And most of them are playing again on Monday, but nobody is, or one team I think is playing tomorrow. So we'll go game by game here and talk through this. We, of course, have the presenting sponsor Prize Picks. We'll talk about them and how you can get a full free month of Odd Shopper if you sign up through our link, in addition to a $100 deposit match. I'll drop that information page there into chat. But let's get going here, Matt, with our first game. Let me get back up to the run sheet here. We have on tap the Brooklyn Nets in Charlotte taking on the Hornets. Nets are 6.5-point favorites, just a 208 implied total here. For Brooklyn, of course, Ben Simmons out for the season. Cam Johnson is out tonight with his ankle injury. This will be his 2nd game that he has missed. And Day'Ron Sharpe is likely to play tonight. He missed the last 2 with an ankle injury. And Cam Thomas, not to be confused with Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas should be back. He missed the last 6 games with an ankle injury. Brooklyn last played on Thursday in Detroit. They lost 118-112. So Detroit got a lucky win there. They don't play again until Sunday when they're in Cleveland, in your neck of the woods. Charlotte on the other side, this is a back-to-back for them. They lost last night in Washington. They play again on Monday. At this point, the charade of LaMelo Ball ever returning again is still ongoing. Mark Williams is still out, and now Seth Curry is out, as well as whichever Martin twin is playing on the team, and Terrence Treyman is also out. So suddenly Charlotte's looking pretty thin. Take us through what you got here. Anything of interest on the Brooklyn side? Because somehow their dilapidated team is 6.5-point favorites on the road, which is just wild.
Kind of just shows you the state of Charlotte right now. Both these, I know Charlotte's on a back-to-back. Brooklyn's not on a back-to-back.
No,
they played 2 nights
Thursday.
ago. Okay.
Yeah.
They played, so I couldn't remember exactly. Brooklyn looks way better than Charlotte here just because of the matchup they're in. That's not to say that Charlotte isn't in a good spot against Brooklyn, but Brooklyn's in a great spot against Charlotte. The problem is, like you mentioned, those guys are back. They're priced probably where they should be. So I think Brooklyn and Charlotte, to an extent, both look like teams you can get to in tournaments, but neither of these teams have building block type plays, in my opinion. The top overall play from this game, in my eyes, is Nick Claxton at 6,900. 10% chance of being optimal. 7.5% ownership. I can ride with guys like that all day, but that's not like a building block type of play when we've got Daniel Gafford, Reith, Jokic. So I think this game is appealing from like a 30,000-foot view. Just not really sure how actionable it is, unless, of course, you're making like 150. Then I would get exposure to the pieces I talked about.
Yeah, it's going to be if we're doing one of these games stands out alone, it's this one. Just the 208 implied total is a disaster in and of itself. There are opportunities here. We will be accepting some of these players into our lineups, but it's hard to pinpoint anybody and say this is where someone I would like to make a featured part of my lineups. That player just doesn't really exist in this matchup, which is a little bit of a surprise. I did recommend wagering against Mark Williams' rebounds last night, and then he had to stick it to me by getting 8 in the first quarter and 13 for the game. But aside from that, I don't even have a wagering angle on this matchup from either side.
Is that Nick Richards you're talking about?
Or Nick Richards, sorry.
Okay,
I got Mark Williams. Yeah. Mark Williams, Nick Richards. Asshole beat me, jerk.
I was just making sure for my own knowing not to call you out.
No, I think, as I sort of mentioned at the top, I don't think Ball's going to play for the rest of the season. I don't think Williams is going to play for the rest of the season. They just keep perpetually kicking it. 3 more games. Week to week, right? It just feels at this point it'd be, God forbid, they get hurt again.
Right.
At this time. But is there anything, any thought, is this a true skip this game on the slate? What is your final take as we get into plenty of more intriguing options here? And there is one other 7:00 game, so this isn't a full wait until 8:30 kind of a situation. But anything else from this game?
I don't think you have to skip this game. It's not the worst game in the world. Obviously, Brooklyn and Charlotte. There's just no one that stands out, as we alluded to. The other guy that I'll mention that's a similar play to Nick Claxton with better positionality is Brandon Miller from the Charlotte side. He was real popular last night. I don't think he played very well, but I think he looks like Claxton, and those would be the 2 guys from this game that I would have no problem getting to, and that I could see myself getting to in like 3 max type stuff. Even there, though, it's thin, so know that.
All right, so into chat we go. There goes the Prize Picks landing page. I want to talk about that for just a sec while we have a segue here. So let me get that up on the screen. This is one of the pages, I think, or the sections, I think, that tends to be so overlooked here on Stochastic. So I want to make sure that you guys are always aware of it, because the main questions we're always getting is, hey, do you have any deals? What do you have going on? So if you see over here, I'm on the Stochastic homepage, you see this little drop down here under deals, in the top left upper corner for those listening on podcast. But you can see where we've got the special launch bets here for North Carolina. If you guys are in North Carolina, gaming or gambling is coming online. I believe it's Monday. If you go through a lot of these, you can sign up and just get bonus bets without even making wagers. So definitely check that out, because that's going to go away day one, and then they'll change it over to a slightly lesser exciting option. They'll still try to drive traffic there, but keep in mind, you want to take advantage of all these bonus wagers that you can. Here I've got the landing page up for Prize Picks, but you can see, here's our promo code. You can click on this and go through the link. I will drop that into the chat as well. But these are we have these breakdowns for all of the different offers we have. Tells you where it's available. If you've got to be 19, 18, 21. Reminder, if you or anyone has a gambling issue, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Are there any other associated bonuses with this? Yes, 1 free month of Odd Shopper at this point. So if you remember, about a year ago, we were giving 2 months of Stochastic when you signed up through Prize Picks. That went away, but we got a 1 month of Odd Shopper for those of you that still have not yet signed up to Prize Picks. But they are the pick'em site. It is a lot of fun. I play there most days. Fridays is Flex Friday. You can get up to $20 back if you lose on your a designated card on Friday. You have to make 5 or 6 picks and make it a flex play. But that is, I make sure to play those every Friday, because there's nothing wrong once or twice a year of turning $20 into $500. And I've been lucky enough to do that. I did not last night. I got 3 out of 6, Matt. It's not a good night, but I now have $20 in my Prize Picks credit. So good times there. Good times. All right, back to the games here. Let's go to our second one, which is also a 7 o'clock game. Here we have some intrigue, because we have the Dallas Mavericks in Detroit taking on the Pistons. 7.5 favorites. The Mavericks are on the road. 234.5 projected point total here. For Dallas, there is no Derek Lively. He is out with a personal issue. Luka Doncic questionable with an elbow issue. This is an island game. They last played Thursday. They'll play again on Monday. Detroit, the only thing of note to mention is Grimes remains doubtful. He has missed the last 3 games with a knee injury. I assume you're assuming that Doncic is a go for this one.
Yeah, he's been playing like every night. I know he pops up on the injury report, and I don't know if this elbow is something new or not, but this team needs wins. They're in the 8th seed, I believe, right now. So I don't think they're trying to. I mean, this should be an easy win for them. I don't think they want to take that for granted here. Maybe if they get up big, he doesn't play as much, but I don't know. That's just speculation. He looks great here. I think that you could quibble between him and Jokic as the top 2 studs on the slate. That's a daily occurrence, right? Like, unless one of them is in like the best matchup ever, then that guy will stand out. And Jokic is in the better match, or Luka is in the better matchup here, but he's more expensive. Similar positionality, you'd probably rather have point guard than center just because there's more spots to roster you at, but similar. So I think Luka looks great. Daniel Gafford looks like probably the best play on the slate. I know he's coming in over-owned, but I don't care. He's way too cheap for this role. I played him last time out. He was like 1% owned in some higher dollar stuff, or in like the $100 single entry, not even like that higher dollar stuff, just, some of the single entry type stuff. So I thought I got one over the field, and he was pretty good. He was awful in his first run, only had like 2 DK points in the first quarter, then came back. He finished with like, I don't know, 27-ish, something like that, 28. So it's not amazing at 4,400, but that's after, again, really struggling in his first run. Much tougher spot against Miami than tonight against Detroit. We've seen him smash in bigger minutes for Dallas. So Gafford looks great. Luka looks really good. Kyrie looks like a good tournament play that will become the best play on the slate if Luka's out.
Yes, and that's the key. So I see this is a very incredibly top-heavy slate. We're missing Wembanyama. We're missing Curry, both Currys actually, but Steph is the one that really matters. Obviously, we're looking at raw points here. There are two players projected above 50 fantasy points. That would be Luka, and that would be Jokic. If we go scroll down the list, the next highest player I think was in the mid 40s. I'm looking at FanDuel here, is the mid 40s. In that, it was Jason Tatum. So I wanted to see her. I saw someone in chat mention they don't want to play Luka tonight because that would take so much for them to actually be in the optimal lineup. So let's take a peek here. They're saying you need 80 points to get in the optimal lineup. So if we look at it here, we can see this is DraftKings. We look at Luka. He has 67 points on DK. Jokic has 68. You can see their probability of going higher than their fantasy points. They're 5x plus 10, that constant in there to make it a more realistic score. They are looking at 3/4 of the time exceeding that for Jokic and 2/3 of the time exceeding that for Doncic. You can see that Luka is expected to be in the optimal lineup 20% of the time. We're looking at raw points. We don't always get the optimal lineup. Sometimes it comes close on NBA, but we need those raw points here. If we look over here at FanDuel, we can also see 20% chance that he makes it in the optimal. Looking at the folks in the high end of the optimal lineup, Doncic is what? The 8th best play on FanDuel, and he is approximately the where'd he go? Oh, he's the 7th best play on FanDuel. So you got to understand context. And that's a great thing about DFS. So here's your moment for the NBA strategy show. It's about the combination, right? The combinatorial ownership. It is, where am I getting my different points? You'll see ties a lot of times in the NBA, but that's because scoring is very similar across the board, right? You don't get as many outlier events like touchdowns, home runs, stolen bases, right? We're looking at points, rebounds, assists. So it's a constant march up with the aggregated score. But you want to find those people that have those outlier capabilities. And tonight, if we look at this, the projections are really just saying that's Jokic and Doncic. They are 20 points, 20 median fantasy points against the next highest player. It's Saturday. It's late NBA. We're going to be playing stars and scrubs. We're going to be looking at lineups that might squeeze both of these folks in. Don't write one of them off a little too early. Would you be interested in waving off one of them just out of principle? I'm giving an easy hyperbolic answer to hand the baton back to you here. Do you want to not play one of them, Matt?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think you have to play them together. I mean, there's certainly ways this slate plays out where other guys are optimal, but I think it's a situation of what you talked about. Enough guys are out where I think enough value is going to creep in. I don't think you can't say you need 80 from Luka here because we have no idea how this slate is going to play out. If, a couple value plays like under 5K guys go off for 40 plus, then you might not need 80 from Luka. Whereas if Simons and Jamal Murray both have 60, then you probably do need 85 from Luka. There's just no way of knowing right now. I'm not playing him or not playing him because of that. As of right now, I think it's hard to play both of them together. We don't have a lot of or any really under 4K value. So I think choosing between them is probably the best ways to allocate right now. But a lot can change. This is just a first look show. So as of right now, Luka and Jokic look like the top 2 plays overall on the slate, and that's laid out in the boom bust tool. They're number 1 and 2. Usually they're really high, but to see them 1 and 2 makes sense just because of what you said. It's really top heavy. We don't have the bottom part to get to these guys easily, but Jokic and Luka stand out so far and above the rest of the field. It's a pretty interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Now, let's play the flip side. Let's play devil's advocate. Let's poke a hole in the argument that I just made because we don't know what's right. We won't know what's right until after the game. But hey, what if Jokic, who currently, as you guys can see on the screen, has a simulated player ROI of 27%? That's one of the highest. We're saying get to him in 60% of the lineups. If you're running 150, the pool ownership is about 30. What happens if he falls off the shelf? What happens if Denver just absolutely controls this game? He posts a triple-double and still gets 50 fantasy points. That's not bad, but that's not great either. And some of those players you mentioned are could be coming up on the outside with 40, 45, even 50 fantasy points themselves. And suddenly you've overpaid for Jokic because you're not reallocating that salary cap elsewhere, right?
I
That's
mean,
why we – no, go ahead.
there was a slate like right before the All-Star break where it was similar to this. And Luka and Jokic were both popular, and I played them together, and they both had floor games. Like, that will happen. More times than not, though, that won't happen. So I think we see this pretty much eye to eye. Sorry I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's good. And that's where I wanted to kind of wrap this up, and I'll run some of the stuff over here for DK throughout the show. But I just wanted to call out, we don't know how it's going to happen. So even though there's a 30, 35% chance these guys are in the optimal lineup, there's a 70% chance they're not, right? And there's an 18% chance that they dud. That's 1 out of 5. They are just going to be bad. Or their team is really good and they're not needed for the third quarter or fourth quarter, right? So there's a lot of things that can come into play here, but you got to understand the context, etc. WB says, WS, how can I reserve a lineup on DK with the Sims tool? No, you just sign up normally on DK. So usually when I am going in to sign up for DraftKings, I'm going to share this tab. I go over to the lobby. I'll come in and pick something. Oh, I don't know. I haven't college basketball. I haven't signed up yet for college basketball. I will come in and I'll say, oh, I want to play this afternoon slate, and just show you how to enter a bunch of them, throw them in the dime time there. Tips and tricks. You'll want to, if you're doing this, make sure you pick a bunch of players from the last few games, right? If I get busy during lock, I'm on a show, etc., I'm going to put a bunch of these players in from the final game, set an alarm to remind myself to not miss the slate. But you sign this up, then you can just, pick your old, what you want, max enter it. So now you've got your lineup in there, right? Now what you do is you go to the DK upload page. And this is, sometimes it's hard to navigate to. And if you're in a hurry, I save it as a favorite. So I just have to type in upload, and then I'll get that. From there, now I can download whatever I want. So you can see I put in, 20 lineups on college basketball. So there's the 20 lineups I put in. I download that CSV, and then that's what I copy the Sims over into. Okay, that's before the game starts. If you're doing late swap, you download your CSV. Games have to already be started. You can't do this before they start. You download your CSV. You upload that into the late swap. So let's go back here into this late swap tool. It will ask you to, it's not set up yet because there's no games underway, but there'll be a button here that says choose your file. You upload that into the Sims tool. And then when you download that, you can just upload that right to DraftKings or to FanDuel. You don't have to copy it back into the template because it's pulling in all the information from the template that you uploaded it and just making one file. Hopefully that makes sense. Josh does have a video. I'll go see if I can find it. But Josh Engelman has a video that talks through all of this. But that's a good question, right? Because it's confusing. It's not intuitive. And it's a pain in the butt if all of a sudden you're 5 minutes before lock. You're like, hey, how do I get my lineups, right? Where are they? What should I do? So practice it for those of you that are new. All righty, let's go back to our game here, our second game. So we talked a little bit about Luka, and then we went off on a fun diatribe. You mentioned, obviously, if Luka is out, Kyrie becomes a great option. Daniel Gafford will probably play about half the game. He's a walking double-double in a situation like this, gets a lot of lobs and rebounds. Does he get more than 30 fantasy points? That part's the tough part. Anybody else from Dallas, and who do you like from Detroit?
I mean, I would take right now, 30 is like a good line. It's projected for 29.5. So I personally would take the over. I mean, it's a great spot. Detroit sucks. No Lively. He started last game and played good minutes. So I think Gafford's the best play on the slate as of right now. After that, I don't really love Dallas. Kyrie and Luka aside, I don't think their secondary pieces are all that great here, especially with what you talked about earlier with Golden State. I think you just need roster spots for the later games. And right now, the tertiary pieces from Dallas don't stand out to me in any sort of way at all. I don't know if you see it differently.
No, I agree. Anything else from our Midwest side here? All righty, let's get on to the third game because
real quick.
Oh, sure.
Was there anything from Detroit you like? Because I don't love Detroit, but Cade Cunningham is getting ownership. I should have said that when you asked me in the last league, but just wanted to shout him out.
Yeah, so here's the good question, and let me just pull that up real quick. If we look at last 10 games, and I know I'm not sharing my screen, but I can here. So if we look at the last 10 games, Dallas is allowing 117.9 points per 100 possessions. So that's what we call defensive efficiency rating, right? So this means all this column here. So this is NBA advanced stats. Just say this is your favorite. You can pick certain, you can go by month, you can go by period of time. You can set up the advanced filters, and you can go customize dates if you want to. So what I usually like to do is look at the last 5, 10, or 15 games just to see what's going on. And you can say, hey, here's the worst defenses, right? It's defensive efficiency rating. Over here we have pace. That's how many possessions does each team have per 48 minutes, right? So you figure, okay, if they have, 100 and there's 48 minutes in the game, that means they're probably going to have the 2 possessions per minute, which makes sense if there's a 24-second clock. And the other team probably has close to 2, which means, there's basically, if they have 200 possessions, there's going to be a possession for each team about every 12 seconds, 13 seconds, which is about right. So what you have there is understanding pace and then defensive efficiency rating. But Dallas, very, very bad. We look at offensive efficiency rating, 107 per game for Detroit. Detroit not very good. That's a 10 differential there, which means it is more favorable for Detroit to play a team like Dallas. Now, Detroit at the bottom of the offensive efficiency ratings, they're going to be a favorable matchup for damn near anybody, with the exception of Milwaukee or Boston or New York or somebody that's got a good Orlando that's got a good defense. But that's how you read that. So there could be players that are okay. Could be Cade Cunningham. How do you feel about Cade? Fill in that a little bit, because he's not someone I think of normally.
Yeah. I think that he's probably just a little bit underpriced for his upside, especially. Fairly priced for his median outcome. He does stand out in the boom bust tool. He's like 7th overall in the tools, just in terms of boom percentage. He's coming in over-owned. Only a 13% chance of being optimal, 23% ownership. Like, I personally like a guy like Anthony Simons, who's right above him in the boom bust tool more, but I think it's close, and I don't think Cunningham's a bad play here. I think he certainly has upside, like I mentioned, and he wasn't someone that when I first looked at the slate I was really drawn to, but again, the tools have him stand out a little bit, and it's just a matter of what value we get later on. As of right now, if I were playing one lineup, I would not play Cunningham, but that's more a testament of the rest of the slate than it is an indictment on Cunningham himself, if that makes sense.
All right, so what I've got here up on the screen is I ran my sims for FanDuel. What I did here is I just said, okay, let me look at exposure caps and ROI boosts. It's a quick way to say, okay, well, how many times did I get Cade in my lineup, right? This is a quick hack to get it. 3.3%. So out of my 150, that means I have him, on 6 teams. So not overly exciting here, right? But that's because that's how this is built, to look at the best ROI lineups. That doesn't mean the outcome is wrong to go over that. If you have a strong feeling for him, if you think he's going to do well, etc., those are the things you want to do. And I see Christopher says, shows a train wreck already. If you knew the number of messages we got on Twitter and in Discord and in Slack that ask these very same questions, how do I do this? How do I find that? Where's this at? I'm just throwing out a few things here to help people because I know a lot of the folks on that watch this show don't get a chance to watch the NBA strategy show throughout the week. So these are just little tips and tricks. Don't worry. We're going to get into more analysis. And then, of course, you're going to have NBA Live Before Lock at 6 o'clock tonight. Once we get all the information about all the other players who are ruled out tonight, this slate will be turned on its head, and we will be able to look at it from a different angle. What we're teaching you how to do here is how to read a slate, how to understand it, apply these principles to the short slates, the late slates, the mid, the evening sub slates, etc. That's the key thing here. Or just get the stochastic tools, and they will help you out from there. All righty, let's move back to our next game here, Matt. An official game, a good game. May not be exciting from a fantasy purpose, but we've got the Boston Celtics in Phoenix. Boston favored by 6. Think about that. Phoenix has won 4 of their last 6. They are trying to claw their way out of the scrum that is sliding back into the play-in tournament. 226.5 projected point total here. For Boston, the only person on the injury report is Jaylen Brown. He is questionable with the sore lower back. The Boston lost in Denver on Thursday. They play again on Monday and again on Tuesday. So this is the first of the 3 and 4 for them. Phoenix on the other side there without Josh Okogie, Nasir Little. Damian Lee is out. Devin Booker may return. He's missed the last 3 with an ankle injury. He may return. This is an island game for Phoenix. They played Thursday. They play again on Monday. Who do you like from the game we want to watch tonight? But we're not going to have that many DFS plays from it because we have one really good defense and 2 teams that have most of their key people healthy.
Yes, that, but also kind of what you talked about at the beginning with Jokic and Luka and then Golden State, just like the ultimate priorities. Phoenix, Boston looks good from a tournament perspective because none of these guys are going to be crazy high owned. Jason Tatum, 9,300, bounce back spot for him. Like this game is appealing to me just because there's really good players on both teams. And any of them are in play on any given night, whether it's Tatum, Kevin Durant. You know, certainly the Phoenix guys will look better if Booker is out. They are really low on our tools right now, though. So are we projecting Booker in? Yeah, we are. So it makes sense. Like these guys are just priced up now. Tough matchup against Boston. You know, I think this game is like you said, the game of the night from a viewing perspective, but from a DFS perspective, it's thin just because the guys that you want to roster are all really expensive. And if Booker's back for Phoenix, makes them way less appealing. Tatum would easily be my favorite part of this game, though. Priced down to 9,300 coming off a couple stinkers. I think he bounces back in a big way. So I like Tatum quite a bit here, actually.
All right, if we're focusing here just on DraftKings, I'm showing you the boom bust tool here. I've got it just sorted for these 2 teams. We can look at the ownership here. We can see that only 4 players are coming in at double digits, and that is just the Boston side, right? So Phoenix not looking great from a point per dollar and a DFS perspective, especially if Booker comes back, because he's been out long enough that we've seen some salary increases there for Nurkic, who had some really good rebounding games over his last half dozen. He's averaging about 17 boards per game. We've seen Bradley Beal playing minutes, etc. So nothing exciting there. But you've got the Derek Whites, Kristaps Porzingis, Tatum. An interesting play, as Matt was pointing out. He's kind of neutrally leveraged right now, coming in at just 10% with about a similar optimal rating. So it's this is going to be a fun one to watch, but a tougher one to really get to DFS plays from. If Booker is out, again, he's trending towards playing, but if he's out, do you go back to Kevin Durant, even though he will be the focal point of the Boston defensive attention? Is he someone you would consider in that particular scenario?
Yeah, definitely. Really struggled a couple games ago in Denver and then turned it on in a big way in the fourth quarter. Wasn't overly needed in the last game. You know, yeah, I think that it's worth bringing up that without Booker, he's going to be the focus of Boston's defense. And for a lot of guys, that would matter. But it's Kevin Durant, you know, like this is one of the elite scorers we've ever seen. arguably a top 10 player of all time. Like, yeah, he could struggle tonight with the likes of Drew Holiday, et cetera, on him, but chances are he won't because it's Kevin Durant and the usage will be there. And even if the efficiency's down a little bit, again, I'll go back to it's Kevin Durant and 9,700 without Booker. The biggest qualm with Durant I have is that he's not Luka or Jokic. So, getting to him is difficult, but I think certainly within the realm if Booker's out for sure.
All right. Now we're talking. It took us to game 3, but now we're talking. San Antonio Spurs at Golden State. Spurs 10-point underdogs on the road. This is important. No Victor Wembanyama. He is out. No Steph Curry. He is out. Potentially no Jackson Davis. He is questionable with an ankle injury. But we have a whole host of players here that are stepping into fill a huge void left by Wembanyama, and 2, Golden State filling in about 20 field goal attempts with Curry out, but they also get one of the better defensive matchups that they're going to face, or more fantasy friendly matchups here. What do you have from the visitors side here, the Spurs? Because filling the void left by Wemby is close to 50 fantasy points per game. That's a lot to go around.
Yeah, this game looks really appealing overall. Now, pricing isn't like dirt cheap for any of these guys on either side. So it's not a situation where you can be like, play Luka and Jokic and then pieces from this game, because the pieces from this game have now been priced up a little bit. That said, Sohan looks good at 5,400. He's the 3rd highest owned player on the slate behind Gafford and Jamal Murray. To me, I think Murray and Gafford are much stronger plays than Sohan, but I get the ownership. I mean, small forward, power forward eligible, too cheap. That makes sense. I like Keldon Johnson, who's only $100 more, getting a little bit less ownership. That said, he's also projected to be 22% owned. Devin Vassell has really taken his game to the next level recently. Priced up to 7,700. I think it's fair. Also a little bit over-owned, 15% ownership, only an 8.5% chance of being optimal. Doesn't mean these guys aren't in play, though. There's plenty of ways on this slate to get different. I think San Antonio is coming in a little bit, quote-unquote, over-owned, but not drastically, and they're not like uber chalk either, except for Sohan. So I like this game from just an overall DFS perspective. Sure, you could see San Antonio die here after losing Wemby for the 2nd straight game. They're not a great team to begin with. I've been encouraged by what I've seen from them, though. I mean, even against Sacramento the other night without Wemby, they were very competitive. So if this game is competitive, I imagine it's really, really high scoring. So there's a lot to like on both sides. From the San Antonio side, I just went through it. From Golden State, it's kind of the same situation because all these guys look better, but none of them are cheap. So, yeah, I like Klay Thompson more. He's coming in with a ton of leverage. I like that. 15.5% chance of being optimal, 5% ownership. Chris Paul's the other way, 18% ownership, 11% chance of being optimal. I still like CP3 quite a bit here. He's just will have the ball in his hands a lot more. Kuminga will see a big usage uptick. The guy that I don't like as much is Draymond Green. I think him and Curry play off each other. So not saying he can't have a good game here, but I don't think he gains much from Curry being out personally.
Who do you think draws the start with Curry out? Are they going to move Chris Paul back into the rotation into the first 5 since he hasn't been there for a while, or does Klay Thompson get the nod?
I'd be surprised if it's not CP. I think that the big thing for him is not trying to be, start with Curry, because Curry needs the ball in his hands. Curry's gone, so at least for a couple games, and they need wins. So I won't be surprised either way, but I expect CP.
That's kind of where I'm landing as well. I just looking at his minutes. So he missed a whole chunk of time. I believe it was a broken hand or something, his non-shooting hand or a fracture on the finger or whatever it was. He missed basically all of January and most of February. So all close to 2 months. He's been back for 6 games, starting with this first game back. Remember, it shouldn't be a conditioning issue. because it was a hand. But what is he, 36 or 37 now? He played 22, 26, 24, 21, 20, and 24 minutes. I think putting him in for about 28 to 30 is probably a realistic baseline here for his minutes. He definitely, I mean, it's not like he can't play more, but remember, he is his legs. Anything below the waist is made of tissue paper at this point, with all of his calf and quad and hamstring issues. Like you said, they need to win. Having him upright is better. So hoisting a bunch of minutes onto him doesn't make sense, but it does make sense to have him as well as Clay picking up a lot of that slack. We'll probably see a little bit more Moses Moody. It's going to be kind of by a committee approach here that picks up all of this different production. How do you feel about John Collins specifically on FanDuel? Pardon me, Zach Collins. We'll get to John Collins. Zach Collins on FanDuel, where he is power forward eligible. He's center only on DK.
Well, he looks a lot better on FanDuel because of that power forward eligibility. That said, I'm looking up he's expensive now though.
6,800.
Yeah, I mean,
production's been there though without Wemby. Yeah,
it has. I think that he's a play. I don't think he's anything more than that. I don't think he's anything less. I don't think he's a spectacular play. I don't think that he's a bad play. I think he's on the slate and worth considering. If I were multi-entering, I'd probably have some.
All right. I see someone saying Paul's on the Warriors. What did I misspeak? I'm guessing it was me and I called out one of the other 6 teams he's been on. My apologies if I did. Sorry about that. So any final thoughts on the rest of the dubs? Kuminga came back into relevance, but he seems to, with Davis Price and with Green around, he seems to kind of be sliding back into solid NBA player, just not fantasy darling that he was when he was on his run 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Who was that?
Kuminga.
Yeah, he's solid, but solid, but not spectacular. Yeah, I think this game, again, kind of like the Brooklyn-Charlotte game, but for different reasons, looks really appealing from a 30,000-foot view. When you start getting closer to it, there are holes, and most of those holes are just price tags, not being cheap.
All righty, let's get on. We got 2 games to go here. Now we're going to talk about John Collins because we have the Utah Jazz, 12.5-point underdogs here, going into Denver, taking on the Nuggets, 228 team or a game total here. Lauri Markkanen has missed the last or is out tonight. That will be 3 games he has missed with his quad issue. Taylor Hendricks, a rookie, he is going to miss tonight with a toe issue. That will be 2 games for him. Walker Kessler has been out with a sprained foot. He is probably trending to return. We'll know more, but he's listed as questionable instead of out. He has missed the last 4 games. And then Keontae George, probable. He missed the last game because of an illness, and the game prior to that, he played just under 6 minutes, leaving with that illness. Island game here for the Jazz. They last played Wednesday, so everybody that's healthy should be well rested. They don't play again until Monday. Jokic is the only real player we have to worry about. I'm not even worrying about it, but he has a bruised right arm. I think that's just one of those ticky-tack things they're putting on the injury report. I would expect him to play, but as nearly 15-point favorites here, he may only be needed for 3 quarters tonight. That is the dangerous position here with one Nikola Jokic here. On the Jazz side of things, what do you see standing out for you as they try to replace Markkanen and Hendricks?
Yeah, this is a tough spot for Utah, obviously. Denver's good, surprise, and going to Denver is no easy task ever. I guess Utah has a little bit of an advantage in that regard, in that they're already in Utah, so you can't get much closer, I guess, as far as the NBA circles go than Utah. They don't look great here, though. They look like tournament plays, and I don't think they look bad either. They're priced up, but the usage is pretty consolidated right now. These guys are playing well. So, again, practically it's really hard to build around guys like Collins, Sexton, etc. But it's a small enough slate where I wouldn't, fault anyone who wanted to take that route, I guess is the best way to put it.
Alrighty. So the tools are indicating that Jokic is the better play when comparing him with Doncic today. Is he going to be a part of your lineups? I know you like to strategically build a couple lineups and play in those nosebleed stakes, Matt. Is it going to be Jokic? Is it going to be Doncic? TBD still, you can always change your mind. But at this point in time, if we were 10 minutes away from the slate, who has your lean?
The tools kind of just guide me to Jokic. And I think you can make a rational case for either of them. There's blowout concerns in both games. I mean, Detroit is the worst team of the four. That said, it's in Detroit, so you give them a little bit of credit to keep it competitive. Utah's shorthanded. They're playing well, though. So, I don't know. This seems like a spot where Jokic could easily have one of his patented, 15, 17, 18 games by the end of the third quarter, even if it's a blowout. So, I like Jokic a lot. The tools say that he's for sure the stronger play. And then Jamal Murray also looks really, really good here. Under 8K. This is the highest he's been in our tools in a while. Again, projected for a little bit too much ownership. So if you're playing the Jamal Murrays, Gaffords, Sohans of the world all together, you probably want a differentiator in there somewhere, but I'm not even worried about it with those guys. So there is no ownership on this slate I'm overly concerned about.
Is there any secondary plays from Denver that you have a lean on with this particular matchup? Sometimes we're seeing Aaron Gordon pop off. We have Porter Jr. in the mix. You've got Jamal Murray floating around. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope usually gets a little bit of a boost at home. What are you seeing here from secondary options? Or are they even tertiary options when you have the two-time MVP as your gravitational force on this team?
I would say they're secondary. They're not tertiary. I mean, you can't say the whole rest of the team is tertiary. You know what I mean? Like, because that just doesn't, that's, I get where you're coming from, though, for sure. Jokic is that good, that the gravitational pull he pulls. That said, the other guys from Denver look good here. Utah plays at a really fast pace. They're not good defensively. This is the highest I've seen Gordon and Michael Porter in the tools in a while. Both fairly priced. They're right in line with like the Golden State and San Antonio price tags, and they look like similar plays. So Gordon and Porter Jr. Murray looks like an upper echelon play. Projected for 45 fantasy points at under 8K. Again, getting ownership, but I'm not worried about that. There's plenty of ways to get different. So yeah, it's Jokic, Murray, Gordon, and MPJ all look like viable. Gordon and Porter Jr. aren't building blocks, but they're guys that I could see being core pieces.
All righty. I'm sharing my screen here. I wanted to show you guys Odd Shopper because one, it's a phenomenal tool. You can get this for $14.95 per week, $49.95 per month. That comes with the Discord as well, which is constantly teaming with recommended picks and wagers and parlays and how to strategize things. And if you're trying to hedge out and all the fun things that come along with sports wagering, but this tool also helps out with the pick'em sites. So we can go to Prize Picks, since they're the presenting sponsor of the show. You can see here that, what do I need to do with Prize Picks? How do I find the best deal, the best card out there? Well, let's just have this build it for us. So we can click on today. We've clicked on Prize Picks. We have Flex. Let's just make NBA only, and it will take any type of play types, but we could pick it, specific, the different milestones that we want. And let's see, boy, this will probably take me 15 minutes to make a good card. And it takes approximately, 3 seconds to make a good card here on Prize Picks. So you can see here, what they've given us here is a current parlay. It has given us our 6 steps because we have allowed it to go with a 6X. It's ranking them in order of the best plays. So if you only wanted to do a 2 card, a 3 card, a 4 card, you could do that because it's just sorting out the orders for you. If you don't like something, you want to swap something out and say, I don't really want to wait around till 10 o'clock for RJ Barrett. Let's get that one out. Ooh, I'm happy to go with the next best one. That's Daniel Gafford. That's a 7 o'clock game. We can put that back into our card, and there it is. It's available there for us. So this is a lot of fun. It's very, very easy to use. If you're using this for the betting side of things, you go to the positive EV bets. It's geolocated by state to give you all of the available offerings. So if we go down here and we look at Florida, where I am moving to, we will see that there is just one sports. Ooh, maybe there's 2. We'll have to see. Hard Rock is there. That's really the only one. But I am in Virginia right now, so I am trying to take advantage of that and look at all of the different wagers that I can make today. You can sort this by EV, your best possible wager. You can break this out by the different leagues. If I only wanted to look and see what was there for NBA and specifically look at player props, instead of anything else, it'll filter by that. This is the odd shopper rating, the positive EV value. That gives you all of the things. It tells you what the best book is. Oh, wait, I'd love to make this wager, but I don't have that 365. Let's click this. Where else is this available? Hey, it's at minus 120 on ESPN Bet or PointsBet. So that's a closer, not quite as good, just a 7% or 5% expected ROI compared to a 7% expected ROI. But if I only had a FanDuel account and I wanted to make this under wager against Mikal Bridges here, oh no, minus 142. Well, that doesn't seem a lot different than minus 115. That's a 10% swing in expected ROI from positive 7 to minus 3. Understand math, or let OddsShopper do the heavy lifting for you. So check that out. And if you sign up now through our link and join PrizePicks, you will get 1 free month of OddsShopper and up to a $100 deposit match on PrizePicks. Do they have wagering in your state?
Yeah.
Do you wager?
I do.
Nice. What do you like to wager on? Live, pregame, sides, totals, player props? What stands out for you?
I'm a sides better.
Sides. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a sides better. Mostly, almost always pregame. And yeah, I use OddsShopper some for sure. It's one of the better tools out there. I'm actually going to start coming out with a little short betting video coming out in the next week or so that I'm going to be putting out there. So check it out. You didn't even know it, but you plugged me.
There you go. John P. setting me straight. Chris Paul is 39 in 3 months. He's not 36. He's not 37. Oh, my God. He's 38, on his way to 39. How wild is it that there's still 2 banana boat picture players in the league with him and LeBron?
Yeah, that is that is wild.
Good times. Rant says the Jazz might lose by 40. Oh, so you like the Jazz tonight, right? What? So is it Boston? Yeah, it's Boston, right? That has beaten 3 different teams this season by at least 50 points. Isn't that wild stat? Yeah, I can't even think about that. So real quick before we get to our last game here and wrap everything up, I just want to quickly show you guys. Here's the Sims. So some people are always asking, hey, what do you mean when you say ROI boost? Well, you can go into a player, see what you've got, ROI boost. Let's just have fun. We've got Delano Banton and Daniel Gafford are coming in at about 70% here. That's because I made an adjustment to the exposure caps. I set a global exposure cap to that. So if we move that back to 100, we can see where that these guys move on up. So let's look at Delano Banton. So let's give him a major negative ROI boost, right? So we'll go down 75%. Now that's not going to cut his number by 75%, but what this is going to do is it's going to make him look less appealing to the tool. So if we do that, let's get rid of our favorites. Let's just resort to make sure we've done it. You can see all these lineups here that had Banton on it. Now they all are showing a negative 75, but if we do a quick favorite here and get our 150 back, look at our ROI boosts, we can see that I knocked him down just by going from negative 75. He went from 90% to 40%, right? So that's what happens with ROI boost. Now, you may not want to go that extreme because you can have ridiculous outcomes there. But you may say, oh, I want, I don't want to do a negative ROI boost, but I only want him on half my lineups or a quarter of my lineups or what have you. You can go into here to exposure caps and you can adjust anybody, right? So here you can do it globally, right? Or you can come in player by player and do it. So let's say we didn't want Jokic on a lot of our lineups. We could say, okay, I'm going to bump this all the way down, to 25. And then I could goose his ROI boost a ton. And you'll see that, that he will only cap, or he will cap at that number. My screen is frozen, but you guys get the point here. But this is the equivalent. This is how you can maneuver things around in these, and you don't have to rerun your whole player set because we've already simmed the contest. We already have everything that we want. Did it work out to where we are, right? So now I knocked him down so low in his ROI, he's not showing up, right? That's how you do it. So you can see how sensitive things are. But let's get back to our final games here. So the last one of the night, Matt, Toronto Raptors at Portland. We have the Raptors favored by a bucket. Trailblazers are on a back-to-back. They lost last night to Houston, 123-107. Banton played 38 minutes. Anthony Simons played 34. Joop Reith played 32. Murray played 33. Kamara played 30. You have them on back-to-back 3 and 4, and they play on Monday. Injuries, obviously Brogdon's still out. Shannon Sharp still out. Robert Williams out for the year. DeAndre Ayton, doubtful. He's going to miss his 5th game with a hand issue. Jeremy Grant has missed 2 of the last 3. He is doubtful with the hamstring issue. Jelani Walker is, depending on your site, doubtful or questionable. He missed the last game with the hip issue. On the Toronto side, yikes, they're down tons of people, including Scotty Barnes, but of their last few ambulatory people, there is no Bruce Brown Jr. He will be missing a 4th game with his knee. And then DJ Carlton. I don't think he's played at all this year, but I just want to say DJ Carlton because it makes me want to do the Carlton dance, right? What a
man! I don't know if I've ever heard someone butcher more names in one segment than that right there. You were close on so many of them, but just
I know we're up against the clock. I was trying to go in a hurry here.
I just after the DJ, it's DJ Carton.
Oh, DJ Carton. Oh,
yeah.
I was
gonna let it slide. But then that last.
Oh, that's right. Because I made the joke about I made the joke in playback, which you guys should be watching after the games. Well, in college, one of my roommates, I had 2 roommates. One was a DJ, and the other was a member of a dance troupe, and they were both Filipino. So it was all Filipino dance troupe, and then the DJ was, we did do house parties, and the DJ guy used to carry around all of his albums in milk crates or milk cartons. So we called him DJ Carton, which was but then I started thinking the Carlton dance, right?
Yeah,
from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I obviously mixed the 2 of those together. But anyway, the guy who was in the dance troupe, he actually his what are they called, the whatever crew or whatever, they were very, very good. They were always at doing halftime shows for the Seattle Supersonics, and they even got the tab to do it for when Michael Jordan came into town with the Bulls. And because his team was doing his dance troupe was doing that, he got to get special tickets because it was sold out. So he was able to allow us to buy a block of 40 tickets for that game. Michael Jordan, this would have been like 92, I believe. So right at the apex of his powers before he retired for baseball that first time. But that was a game and a half because that was around the time where the Sonics battled the Bulls in the finals once upon a time. No one remembers that but me, but I just made myself very happy. All right.
Fun anecdote. But as far as this game goes,
thank you. That story was long. It had no point, and it was boring. Thanks, EMac.
Portland looks like the best team on the slate. Banton, Reith, Simons, Scoot Henderson. I mean, these guys look like premier plays. Banton, one of the hardest guys to get away from. Something doesn't add up here, though. 56% chance of being optimal, only 24% ownership. Something's going to even out there. Either the optimal will come down or the ownership will come up. If it doesn't, he's the best play we'll have all year. Reith looks really good. Similar story here. 21% chance of being optimal, only 7.5% ownership. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And I know you have Jokic and Gafford, but still, if anything, if those numbers hold, I'll play Gafford and Reith and just pivot from Jokic to Luka. That's a situation where I'd have no problem doing that. That's pretty much it from Portland, but all those guys look really, really good. And then Toronto, this game should be competitive. They are getting Portland, as you mentioned, on the second half of a back-to-back. They're priced up, Barrett and Kelly O, but I don't think these guys are bad plays. Same with Emmanuel Quickly, who's coming off a monster game. Portland looks a lot better than Toronto because of pricing, but I don't mind mixing in some Toronto pieces either because they're in a really good spot, and their rotation is pretty condensed right now as well. So overall, good game from a fantasy perspective, but that's all I got.
All right. All I got is fun. I see someone saying EMac was in the movie Singles. When I was in college, that was when grunge came about, my junior, senior years. So Mudhoney, Mookie Blaylock, which was Pearl Jam before, because they wouldn't let him call him that name, and the album 10 was in honor of Mookie Blaylock. Alice in Chains, who else was there? Soundgarden, Nirvana. One of my buddy's wives knew Kurt Cobain when he was a ne'er-do-well ruffian around the town and area of Aberdeen and Hoquiam before he made his way to Seattle to find the grunge scene. So that was crazy. A bunch of my friends, the fraternity brothers, were in videos for Even Flow. I think that was filmed at, I want to say it was the Paramount in Seattle, but where he climbs up to the ceiling and goes across and then drops into the crowd. He lands on some of my friends who catch him there, and then they turn around and one guy's like 6'5", and you just see his face in the video. Those were fun days with the grunge. And they used to do those various bands would do like surprise pop-up concerts, like at parks or at bars or whatever. So you'd hear something on the radio about, oh, the rumor is this Saturday so-and-so is they're going to do a surprise concert. So, and so we'd be driving around trying to figure out where that was. Yeah, good times. Good times. You don't get to do something, be at the groundbreaking part of something like that. It was an amazing time.
Everyone was probably looking for it and stuff. Now with social media, you can't do anything like that.
No, and even then we'd see there was fake sightings and all of that, and then you'd see everybody driving around trying to find them. And that was the internet didn't even exist then. All we had was the radio. So
different type of fun.
Anyway, Candlebox, that was a good one. There was a band called Inflatable Soul. It was like I forget, one of the brothers or one of the sisters of one of the popular bands was in it, and they were amazing. Never broke through, but they sounded a lot like Candlebox. But they would play the fraternities and sororities parties and stuff. Yeah, it was just a long time ago. It was kind of fun though. But anyway, all right, back to basketball. We're gonna slide on out of here. We have all the tools. We talked about Prize Picks, how you can get a $100 deposit match by going through the link that is in the YouTube description below us here. You can also get it on the Stochastic landing page there under the upper left, under deals. We've got deals for all, you can see the best deals for all of the North Carolina sports books coming on, all of the sports books everywhere else, all of the DFS sites, etc. We talked a little bit about Odd Shopper. You get a 1 free month of that when you sign up for Prize Picks coming in through our link. So a lot of good deals there. You guys got to hear me talk about my fun back in the college days. Let's just say the THC was nowhere near what it is now in the various products.
I mean, that's true from even 10, 15 years ago. I mean, so yeah.
I don't dabble with the devil's lettuce anymore. I don't think I can handle it. I'll just have to stick
I dabble enough for both of us, so it's all good.
But yeah, once upon a time. All right. With that, we're going to get on out of here. Hit the like button. Tune in at 6 o'clock for NBA Live before lock. And don't forget, Greg already has a standalone video out there for the MMA slate that starts today at 6. And you're going to get the NHL information as well on the NHL Strategy Show this afternoon. You guys can follow Matt on Twitter at FantasyTipsMatt. I am at EMacDFS. And of course, it is Stochastic_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.